Williams, Dana Perino, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. President Trump hammering Democrats with a stern midterm message.
Come Election Day, Americans will remember Kavanaugh, and they will remember all sorts of other things because that was a shameful act. This will be an election of Kavanaugh, the caravan, law and order, and common sense. But the choice could not be more clear. Democrats produce mobs. Republicans produce jobs.
Democrats, however, don't seem to be able to get on the same page. For example, Texas Senate hopeful Beto O'Rourke is doubling down on impeaching Trump.
I would liken impeachment to an indictment. There is enough there to proceed with the trial for a full vetting of the facts and to make the best informed decision in the interests of this country and our future.
Senator Spartacus, Cory Booker, is making this bizarre claim that Canada is more American than America.
Every country we are competing with is driving down the cost of college. Germany, it costs between 0 and 4% of median income to go to college. Canada, I can't stand how they're out-Americaning us in Canada. Trudeau, give me a break. Costs about 6 to 7% of median income to go to college. What does it cost in America? 52% of median income. And why are other nations out-Americaning us?
And then there's Nancy Pelosi, explaining why she doesn't really care if socialist policies hurt Americans.
I think that we owe the American people to be there for them, for their financial security, respecting the dignity and worth of every person in our country. And if there's some collateral damage for some others who do not share our view, well, so be it, but it shouldn't be our original purpose.
All right, Dana, a smorgasbord of Democrats trying to grasp at anything to get a message before the election.
Two of those, Cory Booker and Beto O'Rourke, are really running for 2020.
Right.
Nancy Pelosi is probably the most message disciplined out of all of them, and she's the one who's saying, we're not going to do impeachment. Like, everybody's like, stop that. And Beto O'Rourke is actually, he's saying that an indictment and impeachment are the same thing, which is just legally not true, and he should know that if he's running for Senate. I do think that if he ends up losing in Texas, you will see him on all of the shows for the next week where the host will beg him to run in 2020. And President Trump should want that to happen because that is not a strong message. Cory Booker, where is he giving that speech? He's in South Carolina.
Oh.
Is he in South Carolina because he's helping congressional Democrats who are really wanting to, or challengers to Republicans because they really want to win? And that's not happening in South Carolina. Unlike Lindsey Graham, for example, he's going out on a 12-state tour after Kavanaugh, so he can do all of those things. President Trump said his closing argument is going to be Kavanaugh, the caravan, law and order, and common sense. Now, I think that saying a closing argument 2.5 weeks until the election in this news cycle is a little risky because by Saturday we could have a new closing argument because if you think about it, Kavanaugh was just 2 weeks ago. But the Democrats, they're bailing out of 3 important races today. Down in Texas 23rd, that's Will Hurd's seat. That was a district that Hillary Clinton won, but now he's pulling ahead. So the Democrats are going to take money out of that, try to put it somewhere else. That's happened also in Nebraska 2 and Minnesota 8. So places where the Democrats were thinking they could have pickups, those are now out of reach for them. Possibly, of course, it depends on turnout, but if they're not going to put money in, that shows something. The Democrats' closing message is going to be this: healthcare, specifically pre-existing conditions, which we could talk about more if you wanted. And if you see their ads, they're starting to say, check on President Trump. They want to you vote for a check on President Trump. So if you're a challenger to a Republican who's already in Congress, the ad would say, Jesse Waters votes with President Trump 98% of the time. You don't want that, do you? And that's how they're trying to motivate the base. Republicans out there will
just 98%, Dana?
Yeah, well, you hedge a little. You hedge a little on a couple of things just to, keep it interesting. I think that Republicans, if you see their ads, it's immigration and support for President Trump. So this idea that this is not about President Trump, it just really is. He should embrace it. He was basically out on the campaign trail all weekend, And I think that the Republicans, if they can keep focused, a lot of the races that Democrats thought they would be able to win will be out of their reach.
What do you think about the midterms, Greg?
I try not to think about them that much. I got other stuff going on.
Really? 'Cause it's your job.
I got a weekend coming up, gonna have some fun. The great thing about when you watch the rally, you know what Trump's message is. It's really simple.
Yeah.
You know, it's national security, crime and borders. It's law and order. It's really hard to find out what the Democrats are for. You only know what they're against. Him, and they're also against being out of power. So that leads you into the arena of what Nancy Pelosi said, which was particularly loathsome, that collateral damage is acceptable. And we know this. We know that the end justifies the means. By any means possible, they need their power. So you saw that with Kavanaugh. You know, his family, collateral damage, right? If you look at what's happening now with the caravan, the collateral damage are those people who may suffer grave injury trying to cross a river or being sexually abused, but they want that spectacle, right? They want that. So that's collateral damage. They want to raise taxes and increase regulation. That hurts businesses, collateral damage. We go back all the way to Obamacare, right? Collateral damage. You lost your doctor. Your rates went up. But that was collateral damage because the idea of government running healthcare was such a big idea. It didn't matter if you lost your doctor. So their message, it's not about ideas. It's not about progress. It's about power by any means necessary. And when you have that ideology, that means collateral damage is not just acceptable. It's practically the only thing you have. They're not Democrats. They're damage-crats.
Oh,
wow.
Juan, I'll let you respond to that.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, it's to me, the shocking point is that Republicans don't have a message right now. So the president yesterday comes out and says the message is going to be Kavanaugh and Caravan. He could have thrown in there Kaepernick and Kanye. I mean, he could just gone full rapper on it.
3Ks, 4Ks?
Yeah, because he is right now struggling with the absence of a message. And you look at the advertising that's being put on the air, everybody thought it was going to be all about tax cuts for the Republicans. They're going to say, we delivered on a tax cut for the forgotten man. What you see is that Republicans are not running commercials about tax cuts because they're not having any traction with the voters. So that means that you go back to red meat, you go back to the most kind of culture war issues you can find. And for Trump, you know, his number one hit on the road has always been immigration, build the wall, go after them. And that's what he's trying to do. So he's trying to get his base revved up for the midterms with these kind of red meat issues. But it's so far the big absence is that Republicans don't have a strong message when they thought they were going to have a message. And I tell you, even on the immigration, even on the immigration issue, at the White House, they're having big fights between John Bolton and John Kelly, the chief of staff, over why is it, despite all that the president has done and all of his rhetoric, we've seen a spike in terms of people coming and crossing. And so they can't figure out what the right policy would be at the White House. But they want to say it's the Democrats. This is the most incredible thing. Trump says it's the Democrats who are paying to have the caravan come, Jesse. This is ridiculous, absurd, but I guess some people might be suckers out there and buy that kind of foolishness.
Well, I mean, people are going down there from America to help this caravan come north. That's a fact. It's been reported in an article, which I'll raise to you in the next segment. And also, just one, before we get to Kennedy, I want to address you say about the tax cuts. Greg brought it up. You don't have to say tax cuts. When he says jobs, when he says the economy, when he says GDP, that's under the umbrella of everything he's done economically.
Yes,
and
like,
that's the message that's getting across.
Does that include drive up the deficit 17% in 1 year?
No, we're not running on the deficit.
Laughable. A Democrat talking about deficit.
No, what's laughable is a Republican saying, deficits don't matter because it's not a Democrat in the White House. Oh, what hypocrisy.
I think the only deficit is the ideas coming from the left. Go ahead.
No, but Juan brings up a really good point, and the problem is, as an independent voter and a woman who doesn't fit neatly into any category or box, I look at freedom-killing deficit spending, and it is atrocious from both parties. And they're so similar in that regard because it really is. This is the thing that is going to hamstring generations and really curtail economic mobility, which is critical for things like hiring new employees and going out and spending money. And when you talk about consumer optimism, which has been one of the big drivers for the economy and for the stock market, that is completely stifled when we finally get the bill for this outrageous money that we're spending on everything. And Paul Ryan came into power as this wonky spending, he was a person who neutralized spending and talked about cutting costs. And the debt is now $21 trillion. When Nancy Pelosi goes out and when she is the mouthpiece for this party, and when she talks about the House is going to once again rest in Democrat hands, that riles up Republicans more than anything, and independents, because she's not a likable person. She's not only unlikable, she's a person who doesn't have a message. And you can joke that Republicans don't have a message, and you may not agree with it, but something as simple as jobs, not mobs, that resonates with people, because they would much rather have jobs and money for their kids than run up against a wall of protesters who are going to call them names and spit on them and stop their car and vandalize nice cities.
Can I add something about Cory Booker? Because we kind of skipped over it. He said that Canada is more American. Is he aware that they don't have a First Amendment? I think he should go back and look it up, because their freedom of speech in Canada is not absolute. Their government can pass laws that they feel are reasonable to limit your speech. So he should probably take that.
True dat.
Very good. If Spartacus wants to run on Canada first, let him.
So, we
got to go to commercial.
I just wanted to say, I agree with you. Pelosi is not popular, especially with Republicans. They can use her in the ads. But what about Mitch McConnell saying, oh, yeah, if the Republicans retain control, we're going to go after Social Security. You think that's a helpful message for Republicans?
Yes.
Never speak ill of Cocaine Mitch. We love him. Caravan chaos after migrants try to cross the border into Mexico. Will Trump soon be forced to stop it?
New video of the caravan of migrants streaming across the Guatemalan border into Mexico before being confronted and turned away by police. This as President Trump issues a stern warning about stopping the group before it reaches the United States.
A lot of reasons that caravan, 4,000 people. But I just want to thank the Mexican government, because they're stopping it, hopefully, before it ever gets to Mexico. As you know, I'm willing to send the military to defend our southern border if necessary. All caused because of the illegal immigration onslaught brought by the Democrats because they refuse to acknowledge or to change the laws. They like it.
And earlier this morning, our own Griff Jenkins, alongside Border Patrol agents apprehending illegal immigrants trying to cross into Texas.
We've gone deep into the brush, another group of individuals. Now, you're looking at 3 guys that we came deep into this brush that they had located and found.
Griff was on the Daily Briefing today, Greg, and he said that the Border Patrol told him that they could apprehend about 640 illegal crossers a day. A day.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Thanks, Griff.
Yeah.
He does a good job since he got those contacts. Anyway, the media is going to hate this fact, but we all want the same thing, left or right, Republican or Democrats. We all want everybody to live good lives. But humans have figured out a long time ago that in order to lead good lives, you have to have a process. You have to have a system. And right now, the Democrats, they have no process or system. They just have a goal. And when you just have a goal, it always ends badly because it has no system. So human beings with common sense naturally reject anything that doesn't have a process. Yet the Democrats always choose issues where process is portrayed as inhuman or cold. So in the Kavanaugh hearing, if you yelled due process, well, you must hate women, right? You are a pig for wanting due process. And the Khashoggi thing, if you're trying to say investigative process, they're saying there's emotional outrage. Why aren't we doing something now? No, we have an investigative process. If you look at the caravan, we have legal immigration. That is a process. But you are somehow a cold monster in all of these instances for pleading for a process.
This, Kennedy, if you see the pictures there we have from earlier today, this is not good for anybody.
Nope.
Including the migrants themselves who are trying to get here.
Well, and that's the thing that's lost in all of this, because we're in the middle of this big midterm fight, and you have 2 sides who are entrenched, and both of them are trying to gain as much political favor and benefit out of these pictures. But think about the people who are here. And the reason they're on this train is because they're going to get attention, and they think that it increases their chances. If there's one giant thing that's crossing the border, that it increases their chances of making it to safety and prosperity. You know, I look at this and I don't think these are bad people. I also look at the flip side, and there is an increase in immigration, which, because we have a horrible immigration system, a lot of it tends to be illegal immigration in this country, when there is economic health. And that is a good sign. When there is a dip and when we have a recession, you don't see as many people trying to come across, but there are jobs to be had here. The low unemployment numbers are the biggest magnet for people. The problem is, Greg is absolutely right. It is all about systems. There's so much confusion. We are hearing two sides on the exact same issue, and we don't know, because you hear that, you know, detention centers are full and they're letting everyone go. And if I'm hearing that and I have kids and I want to feed my family, I'm going to bring them up north because there's a good chance that I'm going to be able to get in free and clear.
Ron, looking back for the Democrats, you know, when President Trump offered them that pretty good deal, you know, a little bit of wall funding for the Dreamers and figuring out a way to do more on the border, wouldn't that have just been a good way to at least avoid this problem, this humanitarian crisis that we're seeing?
I think that he had a deal for a while with Schumer, but it's just that he kept upping the ante and then Schumer backed away. But nonetheless, I think there's a lot of resistance on the part of Democrats, the idea that you would just pay off Trump with the wall, which is not an effective block in terms of stopping immigration, but just do it because he wants it as, I think, what did Pelosi say this week? It's a manhood issue.
But a lot of Democrats actually have voted for wall funding, Jesse.
But previously, but let me finish
Barack
this point.
Obama, Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, I think lots of
Chuck
people.
Schumer himself.
This is a great point. In fact,
thank you.
Lots of border security is put in place. George W. Bush, Barack Obama, they had deals or efforts at deals with Clinton,
and it's
Obama,
not working. As I just said,
Bush and Obama.
Griff saying this morning that there's 640, Jesse, crossing a day.
Yeah, that's a lot, and we can't handle it. There's some interesting stuff out here in the latest AP Wire, which I've been following closely all day, Dana. So, and you can see it on the TV. A lot of the people that you see on the video are waving Honduran flags. Now, if you're leaving a country because you don't want to be there, why are you so proud and waving a flag? One thing, they're also noisily demanding to be let in, ripping down fencing and tugging at it, and then basically, you know, assaulting police officers on the other side. Are those the type of law-abiding human beings that America should welcome? I just don't think so. And also, if you read all the quotes from the AP about some of these migrants, they're not saying we're fleeing violence. They're saying no one's going to stop us, quote, we're going to the U.S., quote, and we want to go for better economic conditions. I want a construction job in L.A.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm in L.A. and I'm in construction, why do I want some guy to come here from another country that they can just get paid half my money and they don't have to cover any health benefits for?
You know,
I just don't understand how this can appeal to regular
Americans. You should talk to
There aren't
Kennedy
enough
because
people to
Kennedy
fill
made the
those
point
jobs.
earlier. These aren't bad people. You want to demonize these people.
I'm not trying to demonize them, Juan, but look what happened in Europe.
You are
saw all these
demonizing
people
them.
come in from
You are
Syria,
trying to say, oh,
and
these
now
are-
even Merkel says
No.
we regret that.
You're on GOP midterm talking points. These people
Juan,
are
I've
so
been saying this
terrible.
for
They're a
years.
threat. Let me tell you, if you're saying something that's significant, talk about the fact that most illegal immigrants come in this country with visas. They overstay them.
Okay,
they
Juan,
come on
why
airplanes.
can't they just come
on
in
ships.
at a port of entry?
I see.
They're not fleeing any sort of dangerous conditions.
No.
They're just coming to take jobs.
Get out of here. You're just picking up on Trump's talking point.
Juan,
Trump's
it's in the
talking
AP.
point.
You're calling the AP fake news?
The Democrats are paying for this. The Democrats.
Oh, you know what?
want it. The
Okay, Juan, I didn't
Democrats
want to
are
have to do
funding
this, but I'm going to
protests.
cite this, okay? One of these guys they just arrested was a U.S. citizen, and he works with People Without Borders.
Yeah.
He's running the caravan.
Yeah, terrible,
he lives in
Jesse.
California. They flew him down to run this thing. You're saying that no one's getting paid?
Nobody.
It's right here.
Oh, yeah.
And you know who the source is? The AP.
Oh, my gosh.
The
Jesse.
AP is getting a lot of attention, and we will continue to follow that. Fox News all weekend. You'll be wanting to check it out. Next, Rosie O'Donnell renewing her feud with President Trump by saying he should be removed from office forcibly. That's ahead.
Longtime Trump nemesis Rosie O'Donnell turning up the heat on her simmering feud with the president. Look at this new attack ad.
We're going to right this ship. We are going to right this ship. There's no way that he's going to prevail because he's evil. He's dark. But when he was elected, what I wrote on Twitter was we should impose martial law till we make sure that the Russians weren't involved in the final tallies of the votes.
And Bob Mueller has indicted 13 Russians for election meddling.
And people were like, martial law, what's wrong with you? You're a lunatic.
He wants to send the military to the border, so.
I want to send the military to the White House to get him.
Gene.
Well, I don't think I can top that, but it's actually a pretty good idea.
Greg, send the military to the White House.
Okay, this puts me in a situation where I have to defend Rosie O'Donnell, which is a first. I will admit that I did not watch MSNBC. I found that story on a website, a media website, right? And they portrayed it as though she meant it. Right. That it was, the headline was, she says send the army into the White House. And then you open up and you can realize she's obviously making a joke. This happened also to you, Kennedy. Yeah. You made a joke yesterday. The same website did the same thing to you and said, you want to do this. And it was a joke. And so what I've realized is that the media now, they're becoming like the teacher, the kid who runs to the teacher to tell on Bobby for making a joke. The entire media is like that now. They've become like a nation of finks and tattletales. Like whether it's Media Matters, Stelter, Mediaite, whoever, they're humorless hall monitors. And it's just like whenever I go, oh, I'm looking forward to watching this to see her like say something terrible, and then you realize it's just a joke. It's just a joke.
It's insane. No, you can spend 30 seconds making your case and then say something completely absurd.
Yes.
That is clearly, and they only abstract that one thing with no context. And it's perfect for a lazy audience who just
you guys are destroying my block.
I thought it was Kathy Bates from Misery.
Listen,
I didn't know
this
Are you
block,
saying she's a killer?
This block is supposed to be about that terrible Rosie O'Donnell attacking Jesse's favorite guy.
Juan, you've destroyed plenty of our balls.
But anyway, you see here.
All right, you know what? I'll play ball.
Yeah, go right ahead. Yeah, go, Jesse, go.
She was dead serious. And also, she's also, to be fair, she's talking about martial law, and she was serious about that. So sending in the military is not a stretch from talking about martial law. I just have to say, Trump is blessed with the best enemies. When you look at Crooked, when you look at Pocahontas and Rosie, they pop up at the perfect times and, say the dumbest things, and it gets the right all fired up.
All this week, in fact.
All this week. And right when the left is saying, no, we're not crazy. We're not a bunch of mobs. We respect the rule of law. You have someone like her go out there and say, let's send the military into the White House. It doesn't get any better from that.
Well, Dana, the thing is, even with his convenient enemies, and apparently this fires up his base. You see the reaction that Jesse had to Rosie. There are people who are upset, says, hey, but this week he's out there talking about Stormy as horse face. He's the one that's
attacked. That was last week.
Well, it seems like it's all the same week. And then, of course, with Rosie, you never know with Trump, right?
No, I'm not as president days.
Yeah, but anyway, with Rosie, this brings back, he attacked her. I think he said she looked like a pig.
I don't care. Yeah, I know. This is like, it's just so not satisfying to just talk about the words all the time. Yes, for example, I don't love it that the president said, oh, Gianforte, he loved a body slam reporter, that helps him in Montana. I don't love that. And also because Gianforte actually apologized for it, and he was chagrined about it. He was embarrassed by it. He got in trouble for it. He said, I'm sorry, never do it again. He apologized to the reporter. That also, we have great stuff happening in this country, but we also have some really difficult problems that we need to deal with. We already talked about the deficit. We talked about immigration. It's not good for us to have a situation where we're fighting over the people that are coming in the caravan. No, okay, look, we should have a system. That should not be a partisan thing. And to argue about something that Donald Trump said about Rosie O'Donnell 3 years ago, I just find it completely unsatisfying and unnecessary.
Dana's not satisfied.
But I think Dana's right. I just wish we had a better level of discourse in politics in the country.
Oh, no, you can't. No, I'm sorry, Juan. You can't do that. Hillary Clinton said you cannot do that until Democrats win the House. And then it can be civil again. And that will be so nice and fun. Especially when she runs again in 2020. How did we not do that block today?
Who predicted that? I predicted that, 6 months ago.
Yeah, you did.
She's running.
You are
slowly, I might add, but she's running.
She's no Kenyan, Greg.
Well, just on a serious note, Dana, on your point, I think that joke about body slamming the reporter, just badly timed given what's going on.
I don't disagree with you, but I also think that
What does the bad timing tell you? It tells you he doesn't care. Get over it.
He doesn't care about a journalist being dismembered.
He doesn't care about the context at all. He's at a rally telling jokes.
I don't think he dismembered Juan. He didn't dismember him. He was untoward, but he didn't.
No, I'm talking.
I thought you were talking about Gianforte.
No, I'm talking about Khashoggi, the guy over in Turkey, the Saudi guy. All right.
Awful story, Juan. Why would you bring that up right now?
Thank you, Kennedy. Nikki Haley zings Elizabeth Warren over her Native American ancestry. That's next for your entertainment on the 5.
What makes this simple salad the best simple salad ever? Great tasting, heart-healthy.
Fair is fair. Outgoing UN Ambassador Nikki Haley roasting Elizabeth Warren over her DNA debacle at a charity dinner last night. Very satisfying. Watch.
Actually, the president called me this morning and gave me some really good advice. He said, if I get stuck for laughs, just brag about his accomplishments. It really killed at the UN. Last year you went with Paul Ryan, who's a Boy Scout, and that's fine, but a little boring. So this year you wanted to spice things up again, right? I get it. You wanted an Indian woman, but Elizabeth Warren failed her DNA test. Actually, when the president found out that I was Indian American, he asked me if I was from the same tribe as Elizabeth Warren.
That is a great joke on so many levels. It turns out no laughing matter for Democrats, according to a Current Affairs magazine. The writer writes, quote, "This stupid issue would dominate any contest with Donald Trump. It would never end. It would prevent us from ever actually discussing any serious issues. It would be like the GD email scandal all over again. And Warren has shown that she would handle it badly. At this point, I do not see how she can be a serious presidential contender." And then added, so, Jesse, is this a winning issue for Republicans and a losing issue for Elizabeth Warren, who really thought she was putting this baby to bed?
Yes, Republicans want Elizabeth Warren to run. Look at these headlines. This is in the Huffington Post. Elizabeth Warren has just proved she can't beat Trump in 2020. Wow. This is from Dana Milbank, uber liberal at the Washington Post. He says she's unfit to lead, and then mentions her cookbook, which Warren wrote in the 80s. Ready for the title? Pow Wow Chow. Wow. Get it? Pow Wow Chow. And it's a collection of recipes of families from the 5 tribes. She calls herself a Cherokee. That's her profiting off of this one. And it also notes that 3 of the 5 recipes were plagiarized from the New York Times and Better Homes and Gardens. So she plagiarized her ancestry and her recipes. It's a slam dunk for Republicans the more she's in the spotlight. And I think Haley's funny. That line killed. And the liberals that can't laugh about that, like Chaffetz did a little thing where he was posing in front of a wooden Native American statue at Disney World, and she was, Pocahontas, I'm here with Elizabeth Warren. He was crucified. You guys got to be able to take a joke, Juan.
I love that joke. You know the one I liked so much?
What?
Where she said the president didn't know the difference between someone coming from India and a Native American Indian.
That's a knee slapper.
That's why it was funny, because it worked on several levels.
That's why I thought it was funny.
You want? You know what? Jokes are funnier when you have to explain them.
Oh, yeah. But I must say that I find it so intriguing that Republicans have such an intense response to Elizabeth Warren. I guess she must be a threat.
Okay, but what Jesse's pointing out, what Jesse's pointing out, and I think this is a really important moment because they're already looking way past the midterms, is the liberal media is attacking Elizabeth Warren and Hillary Clinton. Are these titans of literacy actually misogynists?
Misogynist?
Yeah.
Well, you mean the New York Times for writing an editorial saying Hillary Clinton
is a big fat distraction?
Yeah, that she is a distraction.
That's right.
But the thing is, nobody's saying that she's not a key voice for Democrats and, in fact, for all of Americans. I think she is a critical voice. The question is, if you're talking 2020, do you really want her to run again? I don't see it, but apparently what we're hearing from one of her top aides is, hey, she got a lot of votes.
I just want to go back to what Joe Biden should be very happy right now. Kamala Harris should be very happy right now. Bernie should be happy. They should be sending flowers to Donald Trump for pressuring Liz to go get that DNA test. But I think we're missing probably the big sins that were brought up in that article. They aren't small. She was labeled a woman of color to satisfy a college's need. So once you satisfied that need, that hole was filled, that meant somebody else was bumped out. So she actually stole the place from somebody. Then after she did that, and this is the killer, she claims she was accepted on her merits, which is a way of distancing herself from the very people who wanted to get that space. So she's saying, I'm taking your space, but on my merits. I mean, that's really grotesque. She is a fool. She's a very bad person for that.
Yeah, I don't know that she recovers from this, but it's very interesting because Greg brings up Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and Joe Biden keeps flirting with the idea of running, and we've talked about Hillary Clinton. I think if Biden gets in and Sanders gets in and Warren gets in, Hillary has no choice. She's jumping into the
only thing I was going to mention is that so Biden's doing interviews, Elizabeth Warren's doing this, Cory Booker's down in South Carolina talking about how America is now not as good as Canada. What did Kamala Harris do this week? She announced a big plan for a huge middle-class tax cut. And she's talking about figuring out a way to get you an immediate rebate of $500 so that you would be able to help take care of your family.
That's crumbs.
Yeah.
That's crumbs.
But she's also,
$500 a month.
But to Dana's point, she's also the only one who's actually come up with a presidential strategy.
Right.
She's also the only one who said, okay, we're going to focus on the Southeast, and then we're coming back to the West Coast.
She's not out there doing interviews all the time.
Can I just make one last point before we go?
We have fan mail.
Steve Bannon amazingly said that Hillary Clinton is a lion in winter and that she can take a punch and that she's Trump's #1 rival.
I agree.
You agree with Steve
I think that if she runs.
I was surprised.
That's reverse psychology.
Yeah, maybe. He wants her to run. Wouldn't that be the greatest thing in the world?
It's like Rocky 2.
Rocky 2.
It's like Rocky 4.
Wait, more like Rocky 4.
Legit. All right, don't go anywhere. Fan Mail Friday.
More like Predator 3. Elevator music. Fan Mail Friday, you have questions, we have answers. That's how it works. Question from Doncast16. I guess there were 15 other Doncastes. Ha! All right, what would be your first question after waking up from being cryogenically frozen for 100 years? Juan.
Can I get a warm bath?
Oh, that's a good question. Kennedy?
Did I get ahead?
Oh.
Because they freeze your head.
I know they do.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'd say, who's president? Because it's probably going to be someone crazy, like Miley Cyrus, or someone that you'd never think
could just
would be
another.
president.
No, it could be another long line of Trumps. Right?
Barron Trump.
Barron Trump's kid.
Barron Trump's kid. Okay.
Yes.
I can't do math that
Maybe
well.
they just freeze the existing Trump.
That would be great because then we'd have him forever, Dana. What would be your first question?
I would ask, is Fox News still #1 in the ratings?
Oh, well
really
done. Somebody's getting a bonus.
That's a question.
I would say, hey, Walt, get me my jacket.
I don't get it.
Walt Disney.
What if they could reanimate other presidents? What if they could reanimate Lincoln?
Oh, I don't know. I find him really annoying.
He didn't even win the popular vote.
Yeah, that is true. The Electoral College.
I know. That's why we have to have the Electoral College.
All right.
Another commonality between Trump and Lincoln.
Question from Frenchie World. What is
Frenchie?
I know. What is the thing you have been meaning to try, but just haven't gotten around to, Kennedy? We were talking about it in the break.
Were we Oh, no, ayahuasca? No. I would be terrified to try Peruvian hallucinogenics.
What if we were doing it together?
I would end up being a street mumbler. And you know what happened? You would achieve like enlightenment, and you'd write best-selling books, and you'd have seminars, and you'd displace Tony Robbins. And I would be like a half-nude mumbler, and they wouldn't. I'd be so stinky they wouldn't want me in jail. It would be a bummer.
You know what? I think you're giving that plant a bad rap. I don't know, Dana. What drug? No, I mean, what is the thing you've been meaning to try but haven't got around to? Skydiving, maybe?
No, when you asked that question, and I realized, wow, have I?
Call Troy.
Have I really become like you? I don't try anything.
That is true. I try nothing. I don't try. Except traveling.
Last week I cooked. Last weekend I made mushroom caps. I burned myself. It hurts so bad. I've been wearing a Band-Aid all week.
Oh my God, life is rough.
I know.
I know.
Mushroom cap injuries, they'll get you every time.
Jesse, you're adventurous.
I'm going to get around to writing a book, I think, pretty soon. I've been meaning to get to it.
You have a million titles with the last name Waters.
I know. Well, any ideas?
Well, I gave you one. I gave you one 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, Rising Waters.
Rising
Waters. I like it. Yeah. I like it, Gutfeld. Do I have to owe you any royalties?
No, I'll write the forward though.
Okay. I don't know if I want that.
You do.
I do? Yeah, probably I do.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty ordinary, but I think Dana's beating me to the punch because she tells me she's going on a safari next year.
Oh, yeah, but I already done that.
Yeah, but I'd like to. I mean, I've been around.
Multiple safaris, mushroom caps. I live the life.
I guess I'm going to try. I would like to try being selfish.
Yeah.
Very brave.
I have no desire to try anything, as you said, like unless you're going somewhere, like you're going to a country you've never been. But even then, I'm like, I can just look at you could look when you look at countries in pictures, you imagine it great, and then you get there and you just want to go home.
No, that's not true.
It is for me.
Spain.
There's nothing better than my bedroom.
Ooh, Bora Bora.
All right. I'm going to skip the Breakfast Club question because Juan never saw the movie.
That's
all right.
true.
If you joined the circus, what would you perform, Dana?
The trapeze.
Interesting. Quick! They're telling me quick. Like, how much quicker can you get?
Lion tamer.
Lion tamer, like Lion Ted.
Lion tamer.
Lion tamer. What?
You know those guys on the motorcycles that go around in that dome and they go faster and faster and then they synchronize it? Yeah. I think that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Sadly, I'd be the bearded lady.
Are you on that Mexican drug again?
It gets ayahuasca, but unfortunately the side effects are...
I would like to be one of those clowns that wears a barrel and nothing else. And they run around, they're being chased by another clown. And then they're the guys that after the circus, they go behind the trailer and get wasted and scare everybody.
Great.
It is. That's my... when I retire, I'm going to be a circus clown. Because I'm kind of halfway there.
Like in a clown car, because you're good at packing?
I am. One more
and
thing.
It's small.
All right, enough. One more thing up next. Elevator music. Fan Mail Friday, you have questions, we have answers. That's how it works. Question from Doncast16. I guess there were 15 other Doncastes. Ha! All right, what would be your first question after waking up from being cryogenically frozen for 100 years? Juan.
Can I get a warm bath?
Oh, that's a good question. Kennedy?
Did I get ahead?
Oh.
Because they freeze your head.
I know they do.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd say, who's president? Because it's probably going to be someone crazy, like Miley Cyrus, or someone that you'd never think
could just
would be
another.
president.
No, it could be another long line of Trumps. Right?
Barron Trump.
Barron Trump's kid.
Barron Trump's kid. Okay.
Yes.
I can't do math that
Maybe
well.
they just freeze the existing Trump.
That would be great because then we'd have him forever, Dana. What would be your first question?
I would ask, is Fox News still #1 in the ratings?
Oh, well
really
done. Somebody's getting a bonus.
That's a question.
I would say, hey, Walt, get me my jacket.
I don't get it.
Walt Disney.
What if they could reanimate other presidents? What if they could reanimate Lincoln?
Oh, I don't know. I find him really annoying.
He didn't even win the popular vote.
Yeah, that is true. The Electoral College.
I know. That's why we have to have the Electoral College.
All right.
Another commonality between Trump and Lincoln.
Question from Frenchie World. What is
Frenchie?
I know. What is the thing you have been meaning to try, but just haven't gotten around to, Kennedy? We were talking about it in the break.
What we talking? Oh, no, ayahuasca? No. I would be terrified to try Peruvian hallucinogenics.
What if we were doing it together?
I would end up being a street mumbler. And you know what happened? You would achieve like enlightenment, and you'd write best-selling books, and you'd have seminars, and you'd displace Tony Robbins. And I would be like a half-nude mumbler. And they wouldn't, I'd be so stinky they wouldn't want me in jail. It would be a bummer.
You know what? I think you're giving that plant a bad rap. I don't know, Dana. What drug? No, I mean, what is the thing you have been meaning to try but haven't got around to? Skydiving, maybe?
No, when you asked that question, and I realized, wow, have I?
Call Troy.
Have I really become like you? I don't try anything.
That is true. I try nothing. I don't try. I don't. Except traveling.
Last week I cooked. Last weekend I made mushroom caps. I burned myself. It hurts so bad. I've been wearing a Band-Aid all week.
Oh my God, life is rough.
I know.
I know.
Mushroom cap injuries, they'll get you every time.
Jesse, you're adventurous.
I'm going to get around to writing a book, I think, pretty soon. I've been meaning to get to it.
You have a million titles with the last name Waters.
I know. Well, any ideas?
Well, I gave you one. I gave you one 2 weeks ago.
Rising Waters.
Rising
Waters. I like it. Yeah. I like it, Gutfeld. Do I have to owe you any royalties?
No, I'll write the forward, though.
Okay. I don't know if I want that.
You do.
I do? Yeah, probably I do.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty ordinary, but I think Dana's beating me to the punch because she tells me she's going on a safari next year.
Oh, yeah, but I already done that.
Yeah, but I'd like to. I mean, I've been around.
Multiple safaris, mushroom caps. I live the life.
I guess I'm going to try. I would like to try being selfish.
Yeah.
Very brave.
I have no desire to try anything, as you said, like unless you're going somewhere, like you're going to a country you've never been. But even then, I'm like, I can just look at you could look, when you look at countries in pictures, you imagine it great, and then you get there and you just want to go home.
No, that's not true.
It is for me.
Spain
There's nothing better than my bedroom.
Ooh, Bora Bora.
All right. I'm going to skip the Breakfast Club question because Juan never saw the movie. All right. True. If you joined the circus, what would you perform, Dana?
The trapeze.
Interesting. Quick! They're telling me quick. Like, how much quicker can you get?
Lion tamer.
Lion tamer, like Lion Ted.
Lion tamer.
Lion tamer. What?
You know those guys on the motorcycles that go around in that dome and they go faster and faster and then they synchronize it? Yeah. I think that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Sadly, I'd be the bearded lady.
Are you on that Mexican drug again?
It gets ayahuasca, but unfortunately the side effects are...
I would like to be one of those clowns that wears a barrel and nothing else. And they run around, they're being chased by another clown. And then they're the guys that after the circus, they go behind the trailer and get wasted and scare everybody.
Great.
It is. That's my... when I retire, I'm going to be a circus clown. Because I'm kind of halfway there.
Like in a clown car, because you're good at packing?
I am. One more thing.
It's small.
All right, enough. One more thing up next.